Hey guys, this is an episode of Jacob Lenhoff's Tours America. My name is Boatin Rob. I'm going to be answering some questions for Jacob. Where did I grow up? That is a question that is kind of long for me to answer. Mainly Michigan, USA, but I have lived in 8 states growing up. I was born in Idaho. I've lived in Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, of course, Virginia, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. The reason that I have lived in so many states is that growing up, my dad was a specialist for a nuclear power plant company, and he would get hired to go to these plants at various places throughout the country and basically solve problems, fix broken plants, this kind of thing. And these projects would take 2 to 6 years to solve. And as a result, throughout my childhood, we ended up moving around. So where did I grow up? Mainly Michigan. Since the early 80s, I've been in Michigan, except for 1 year where I went to college in Indiana. In 1982, my mom and my dad divorced, and I ended up staying with my mom, and that's when basically I ended up staying in Michigan from that point forward. She still lives in Ann Arbor, and I have a very good relationship with her there. What are some of my favorite movies? That is that's another strange question for me. I'm a little bit jaded with the state of current movies. I find most of what's out there kind of boring. Things like the reboots and constant rehashing of things. I'm just not really into comic books and that kind of thing, like the Transformers thing. The big kind of dumb action films don't do a thing for me, so I don't really see many of them. My husband and I don't see very many films. What we do see is usually, I don't know, dumb comedies that are just good for an evening's entertainment. Although I do like a really good suspense film. The kind of film where, they grip you with suspense, but then there's like a twist or something that turns the whole movie on its head, where everything you thought you knew is wrong. And it's one of those movies that gets you thinking, even after the movie's ended, that was really interesting. That kind of film I like. But just to name a few that I really like, I'll just name some that I grew up with that I liked. I liked Jacob's Ladder. Great film. Annie Hall was a great film of mine. Some dumb comedies. Weird Science and Real Genius. I know I'm showing my age there, but those were great. That's about all I can think of right now. What are some of my favorite places I've traveled to? Well, Scott and I used to have a boat. That's where I got my online screen name, Boatin Rob. And we would travel with our boat. We trailered our boat, so we went all different places, usually around Michigan. But I had the opportunity to basically visit almost every port in Michigan, alongside all of Michigan. Some of our favorite places there to go were up in the northern part of Lake Huron. Is a big area called Georgian Bay. Wonderful. It's one of the best places to go for boating in the world, they say, other than the Greek Isles. So that was great. Growing up, I have a lot of fond memories of the coast of Oregon. I used to do oceanography classes and summer camps that were out on the coast. Wonderful. So those were some of my favorites. Did I ever attend college? Yes, I did. I'm not really a college kind of guy. It's not really, the formal academic thing doesn't really work for me. But I did go to school for almost 2 years for electronics. And I did that in Fort Wayne, Indiana in the late 80s. As some of you know, I'm a personal trainer. I started doing that, I think about 2.5 years now I've been doing it. I got started in that mainly because people came up to me and said, hey, I've seen your progress. You've really changed your body in the last X number of years. What can I do to do that? And I was asked that repeatedly, and I said, you know what? I could put together some kind of plan that's a version of what I do, of what I've learned, the tools that I've used, the trial and error things that have worked for me, and put it together in some kind of lesson plan and a program for people. And I started doing it. I'm not certified in personal training, nor do I work at any specific gym. I do everything freelance and myself, which is kind of how I do things in life, is just on my own and by myself. And I have people, I should say guys, I won't train women, just guys, that just basically say, hey, what do I do to get past this plateau? What do I do to bulk up here? How can I, I'm skinny in this area. I want to change that. I'm trying to lose weight in this area. This kind of thing. So these are just the kind of things where I'm going to take my tools, take the lessons I've learned, put them together, and hopefully make it work. And usually does. As long as the client is applying themselves, that usually works. Who was the easiest to train? Well, I don't know if one person sticks out at that, but the easiest person to train is someone who, upon giving them tools, that is an exercise routine regimen, a diet routine regimen, maybe a schedule, and they apply themselves. They basically do what you tell them to do. That's the easiest to train. It's extremely rare to be that smooth. Most people they come to me because they have a problem. They have issues. They have stumbling blocks. They have plateaus, that kind of thing that keep them from getting there. If it were that simple, they probably wouldn't need me or any other personal trainer. So usually we run into stumbling blocks. And this leads to the next question, who's the hardest to train? Well, anyone who doesn't apply things. I've had numerous people, and I think any trainer will tell you that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. That is, I can only give you the tools that I've learned. Okay, I can't force you to eat this diet. I can't force you to get to the gym every single day that you need to go and work, with every rep the way you're supposed to be. If you're not applying yourself, it's not going to happen. And there's plenty of clients I've had that just don't apply themselves. That could be because of lifestyle reasons, like work gets in the way, life gets in the way. They just don't have the energy to do it. They just don't have that fire within them to get to the gym and do it. Or they have other issues like their stress eating at home, with really bad carbohydrates at night or something like that, where they're, despite all their efforts, and their shitty diet is going to ruin the progress that they've made. That's kind of the worst client. And then they end up quitting. So, what is the greatest thing I have accomplished? Ooh, that's a tough question. I don't have one thing. I've had many great accomplishments in my life. I'll just name a couple off the top of my head. As some of you know, I'm also a musician. Okay, I mainly do it as a hobby. I don't try to make a ton of money at it, which is extremely difficult if you're not trying to go for the whole pop star thing. In 1999, Carl Craig, who is a local musician and producer here in Detroit, put an ad in the local newspaper at the time for local artists and musicians to get together for a new project called Detroit Electronic Music Festival. I submitted a demo CD to him, and he chose my music to be for the debut of this festival. This was at Hart Plaza in Detroit. Now, as some of you may have known, especially if you're into electronic music, that festival has grown huge. The first year was a bit of a kind of a dry run. We had lots of people, millions of people. It was like 2.5 million people there. But things were kind of sketchy in the way that they ran. Artists weren't paid very much. It was mainly a fun thing to do. But the fact that I was chosen for it and did a live PA set there I count as a major accomplishment for what I did. So yeah, and the music that I wrote for that is online. I have it on my SoundCloud. So if anybody's interested in hearing it, have at it. Listen to your heart's content. Another thing I've accomplished in my life. I'm also an artist. I'm a sculptor, and I've done quite a few sculptures in my life. Many, I mean, like dozens, hundreds, really. But I do a geometric abstract sculpture. And I wouldn't say there's one specific event there that's accomplishment. I would just say the bulk of my work is the accomplishment. I've done art shows and galleries, and just the accomplishment of what I've done has been my accomplishment in and of itself. What is my most memorable holiday as a kid and as an adult? Well, I don't think I have exact dates, but just two that come to mind. Probably both of them were right around the 4th of July. I had a family reunion I went to as a kid in Walla Walla, Washington. Yes, that Walla Walla, the Bugs Bunny Walla Walla. That's where my grandparents lived at the time, so we had a mini reunion there. And there's nothing particularly unique, but I just happen to remember it. It was a really good time. I was 6 years old and running around in a Speedo the whole summer, so that in itself was fun. As an adult, I would go back to the Georgian Bay. That was no doubt a long vacation we did right around the 4th of July, probably a 10-day trip. And it was basically just Scott and myself on the boat, anchored out in the middle of nowhere, naked for the whole vacation, with lots of food and lots of drink, and it was a really good time. So that's memorable. Last question. What is one thing I'm proud of and one thing I'll regret? I'll put the two together for you. As some of you know, I'm a recovering addict. In the past, I've had problems with drugs and alcohol. Nothing terrible like a hit rock bottom or anything like that, but to the point where it was starting to affect my life. What I ended up doing is trading my addictions. If anyone who's got an addictive personality will tell you this, that once you identify yourself as an addictive personality, it's with you for life. It's part of you. It doesn't go away. You have to work with it and make your life positive, or bad things are going to happen. So what I've done, instead of continuing on my, I guess I would say, gradual decline with alcohol and drugs, I decided to just remove them completely from my life. Take that negative addiction completely out and replace it with a positive addiction. Positive addiction has been exercise, bodybuilding. So that's it. No more drugs, no more alcohol. I'm going out. That's completely out. What's in is going to be fitness. And the reason that's worked for me is because, and again, anyone who's been down this road will tell you, if you've ever been on medication for depression or anxiety, you probably already know that those medications are very limited in scope and what they can do, and sometimes leave you worse than when you started. And I found that none of this stuff, none of the medications or anything was really doing anything for me. What did work for me was exercise. The jolt of energy I got from it was absolutely electric, and just the positive influence it's had on my life. So I was able to take that negative addiction and replace it with a positive one. And it's a continual struggle, but it's one that I'm very happy to say I can manage. And it's just like a relationship. It takes maintenance, and it takes dedication and loyalty. And once you do, you can reap the benefits. So this is the end of part 1 of my video of Jacob Lenhoff Tours America. Again, my name is Boatin Rob. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.